Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. What is today? Today is Wednesday. I'm sorry, I'm a little out of it. Going through some stomach problems, so if I don't seem my perky self, you'll forgive me. But anyway, I'm very excited for today's show. And of course, a big shout out and thank you again to United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And of course, you can hear them as well as see them. And they're available on FM radio at 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. So if you're in a chat room, please be sure and join us. We love to hear from you. I'm sure our guest will also love questions, comments. And tonight we're diving into a topic that I never really talked about before, never really thought about much before. But once I started doing some research, I was like, what? Kind of blown away. And I think we're talking to one of the best people that I know to discuss this topic. It's a fascinating and mysterious intersection where spirituality, creativity, and the paranormal, spirit art, kind of bridge together. So what if art becomes a bridge between worlds? What if images, symbols, and portraits could carry messages from beyond the veil? Fascinating, right? Joining us today is C.L. Thomas. I've had her on my show before. She is also a host on this wonderful network. She is a spirit artist, an intuitive, and an explorer of the unseen realms whose work bridges the gap between creativity, consciousness, mediumship, and the paranormal. Through her experiences with spirit art and her intuitive connection, she has explored how imaginary symbolism and energy may serve as channels for communication beyond the spirit world. And in this conversation today, of course, we're going to be diving into spirit art, messages from beyond the veil, and explore how spirit art works, whether spirits can truly influence the creative process, the nature of psychic imagery, and what these experiences may reveal about the afterlife and human consciousness itself. We're going to also dig into some questions surrounding energy, intuition, paranormal phenomenon, and all that great stuff. So enough jibber jabber, as I like to say. Let me welcome CL. Hi, CL.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you. I'm so honored to have been asked back to your show, and thank you so much.
Of course, we love having you on. And again, I was so excited to talk about this topic because, as I mentioned to you before, it's not something I really dug into before. And then when I knew we were doing this show, I started doing the research and I was like, what? So very interesting. I mean, if you think about it, spirit controls or enters or manipulates electronics and so many other things, the real world, the ether. So why not art, right?
Right. And it goes way back.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're gonna have some great examples too to show folks. So let's say hello to people real quickly. Patsy, so good to see you. We have Foggy Notions. Hi, so good to see you. Shout out to Folgers Coffee for supporting our community and making one great cup of joe. They do. They make a good cup of joe. Hey, Heidi, star sister. Love you dearly, girlfriend. And who else do we have? And then we'll say hello to people as they pop in. Mika, popcorn. Yes, of course. I love popcorn. It's the best.
I do too, especially gourmet popcorn.
Oh, yeah. Because then you could put as much butter on it as you want.
I always tell gentlemen callers, if you really want to get to my heart, don't bring me flowers, bring me popcorn.
There you go. I love that. That's good. And I love that designer popcorn too.
Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness. It's the best. I'm going to use that though. I like that. Bring me popcorn, not flowers. I love that.
Yeah, forget the flowers. Send me the
Forget the
popcorn.
flowers. I could buy hey, Miley Cyrus said it best. I could buy myself flowers, right? I
Exactly.
really like that song. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but that song is great. Anyway, let's talk about you. This is all about you. So tell us about yourself first. So in case folks don't know who you are that are watching or listening. So let's do that. Hi, Astrid. So let's start with who you are, what you're about. Tell us
What am
about
I
your
about?
website, everything.
So I've been, I hate to be one of those people that is such a cliche, but it's the truth. I've been seeing ghosts since I was very young. So I kind of say in a way that I grew up with the paranormal. Like everybody else, I lost interest in it when I was in school. I was just focused on education sort of stuff. And then I had this experience in 2010 where I moved to, no, I'm sorry, this was 2004 or 5. I moved into a haunted house in Nashville that just kind of woke everything up again. And I was living with a significant other at the time. I have written a book about it. It's called Dancing with Demons. This haunting kind of woke me up in a way where I had to acknowledge that, yeah, I see spirits and things like that. And that's the direction I took from there on. I did a lot of research into it. Over the last couple of years, I really started digging into mediumship and spirit art and moved away from so much of the paranormal, I guess. But I do have a radio show, and I do have a magazine, Eerie Expeditions magazine. So I do writing. I am a photographer and artist and a little bit of everything, I guess.
And your website is so easy, clthomas.org for
Yes.
folks that head on over there. We have it running across the screen as well. So your life has been really filled with the paranormal in so many ways. And you've used that to the best, I think, of your abilities and share that with the rest of us as a learning, teaching kind of modality, which is always appreciated. So how did you get into spirit art though? Like when did that all start festering for you?
It's interesting. I've always been a sketcher, drawer. I do a lot of fine art stuff. And, I started drawing people, and then somebody would come along and say, this looks like so-and-so. It would be somebody in their life, right? And so, I don't know, I just put 2 and 2 together. It started making more sense to me because I see things in flashes. When I start to see spirit, I see them like different imagery. I see like different things of the past. Like I'm able to describe a place, what it looked like maybe back in 1820s, for instance. And it's just easier for me to draw it than it is to tell it to you for some reason. And so when I did mediumship, that's the way it came out. It just became easier for me to draw out what I saw versus trying to tell you. And when I started doing that, I realized that there was a lot of hits, like people were able to look at it and recognize from the image or sketch of either a person or a place in that sketch, or there would be an image that was directly related to whatever it was of the message that it was trying to come across. So from there, fast forward, there's another guy I worked with who's a well-known medium, Scott Allen. He's a great friend of mine. He had a mutual contact, and his name was Joseph Scheel, who is a spirit artist from the Spiritualist Church. And so I started working underneath him, and he's a phenomenal, phenomenal spirit artist, where his mediumship skills, he can actually draw the person that's coming through in full detail. It's amazing. And then the person will back that up with like an image of the person. So that's what I started doing.
Wow, that's and it sounds like a great way, like a cathartic way to express that as well. So what do you put yourself in a state before, or do you just, is it like automatic writing where you're just compelled to like get this stuff down on paper?
It's a little bit of both. It works very similar. It's the exact same thing as what you would do with mediumship. There's another lady out of Colorado that I work with a little bit. Her name is I forget what her name is. I apologize. But what she does is she works with Scott Allen, and she will actually sit there and sketch the spirit that's coming through. Well, Scott doesn't draw, so he just does the mediumship side of it. So he'll talk about, the regular, whoever's coming through during a gallery reading, and that gives her enough time to actually sketch out what she's doing. And then when her turn comes in, she has it on paper, but she's doing what a regular medium does. It's like any mediumship reading. You put yourself in that state to receive messages. They come through. If you're a spirit artist, though, it's just a little different. You see it in imagery instead of what a regular reading would be.
So aside from confirming to the person that you're working with, does it do are there any other healing properties to this artwork, or messages that you sometimes draw out?
There usually is always a message. One of the things with the Spiritualist Church is they're very adamant about getting evidential stuff, first of all. So I know there's a lot of different spirit arts out there. A lot of them, unfortunately, I see are very scammy, I want to say. Just a money grab. You have people out there that will just draw like lines, or they'll draw they'll say it's a spirit guide, but there's no actual evidence to back anything up that's coming through. So the way we were trained was it has to have some kind of evidential backing to it. And to give you an idea, I'll show you a photo of one that I did. Just give me a second to call it up here.
Yeah, take your time.
And of course, it's not going to work. It's not a file that's accepted here.
What is it?
Yeah. Dang it.
What's the file? Is it a PDF or something? Or because if you share the whole window, sometimes that works. Like if you go where it says share screen and you do like window or entire screen.
Okay, hold on. Let me try this again.
Yeah, because I know for me, when I have those files that don't want to cooperate, I just share the whole window or entire screen, and it kind of there you go. I just saw it pop up. Yay.
There it is. Okay, so for instance, for this one, this is a reading I've done a couple years ago when I was in training for this. And I know it's very small. I apologize. I don't know how to make that bigger there. But this is a young boy that came through, and I was doing a reading for, it was a mother. Now, the figure you see, that was somebody, and I think it was his grandmother actually, that came in and actually took him to the other side. That's what I saw. But in the image, it was a young blonde kid. He was probably about 15, 16 years old. This kid died in a tractor accident. You see the barn in the background. But this is what I saw. I saw the farm. I saw there was a barn on the property there. And I don't know. That's what I saw. And the message to the woman was basically, I'm okay on the other side. I'm here with the grandmother that was on the other side. And she can rest assured that he was fine. That was the message. And the healing she got from that, she saw the image and she just started crying, which is what I get a lot from these readings. So
now,
yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Do you do the drawing right then and there, or
yes.
yeah, wow.
Yeah, this one though, she wanted it colored in and everything. So what I did was I took the reading down, and then I spent a couple hours after the call, actually
touching it up and stuff.
Yeah, and then gave it back to her. But you have to remember, like a lot of this spirit art, it's really just like a regular reading. It's not really about having like a Mozart piece or something for your wall or anything like that. It's just simply to get the message across. And the idea is to get as much detail and evidence as possible so that you're not just saying, oh, this squiggly, this little thing back here is your grandma, and nobody can recognize it, right? So it's kind of the idea.
Hi, Kira. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, a lot of people really like that as well. You have a question here too. From Foggy Notions podcast, C.L. Thomas. In Dancing with Demons, you explore some dark territory. Do you see any connection between those experiences and what's coming out in the new Pentagon UFO files? What recent insights? Well, that's a good question.
You know, I don't really know anything about the new I don't really follow ufology. I'm just going to put that out there. So I couldn't say. I just, I study more spiritual stuff and spirit art, and I probably should get more into ufology, but it's just not something that I follow a lot. Now, I do know with the CERN stuff that's coming out, I have been looking into that a lot. I don't know how familiar you are with CERN.
Oh,
God, they're saying
they opened.
Yeah. Well, they opened a door, and I study a lot on occultic practices like Aleister Crowley and Jack, the guy who blew himself up as he was trying to bring forth a demon. He worked a lot under Aleister Crowley. To me, there's a lot of similarities with that going on. As far as spiritualism, though, I do feel like there is an awakening coming through. A lot more people are starting to say that they have abilities. They're able to make connections with past loved ones on their own, things like that. So, yeah, we are kind of developing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that answers the questions. I'm not real familiar with the ufology stuff coming out, though.
I don't know. You might find it interesting because there's a lot of even politicians, not that I pay too much attention to them, but just for notoriety's sake, they are coming out saying that these objects we're seeing in the sky are demonics and they're not really ET. So in terms of like spirituality connection there, it might be worth looking into. I've tried to research more about it and see, but there's a lot of data that's showing that these are either angelic or demonics that are, when people are seeing the spheres and the orbs and stuff like that. I think it's different than when you see an actual craft, like an ET craft or something like that. I don't know. I find it's very interesting. He's got a few other questions for you. I did star them, so we'll be sure and get back to that. What other spirit art have you done like recently that really you were like, wow, this is so spot on. I'm like amazed. Like, have you done anything in the past few months like that, like working with clients and helping them? Is this something you actively do?
I haven't done it in the last few months, but the last year I have a couple that were pretty heavy. There was one that I had, and she is another medium friend of mine from the Salem area. And she asked me to do a reading for her. She had a spirit that was coming through. She kind of had an idea who it was, but wasn't sure. So I sat down, went into spirit and asked, and this other spirit came through. It was a young male. I don't want to say young. He's probably like in his 30s. And when I saw him, he was working with like a knife, like a little pocket knife kind of thing. And it had like bones all around him. And so I sketched that out for her. And this guy had like glasses. I saw a pentagram. So, I drew that around his neck, like a little pendant. Sometimes things come through and it's just like, I don't want to write that, right? This is silly. But I kept going with it. And it turned out this was a friend of hers, a really close friend of hers. And he was a taxidermy, which is why all those animal bones came around.
Yeah.
He was also military. There was some military symbolism I put in there. He had a pentagram because he was a warlock. And the message was for this young woman was that it wasn't her fault. That's what came through. I didn't know what it was talking about at the time. Again, she, started crying. This was a friend of hers that committed suicide. Oh, so yeah, it's just really heavy stuff. Sometimes that comes through.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was another interesting one though that came through, and this person wasn't deceased, but the spirit still came through. It's very interesting that I did this. She asked me about something else coming through. And so I sketched it out, and ended up being her daughter, who was kind of wayward, I guess, like they're not in speaking terms. I forget the terminology for that. Estranged.
Strange, yeah.
And, I drew her to a T, and she was able to show me a picture. Yeah, this was her that came through. It was but she's not deceased. So the message was she needed to contact her and help her. I guess she was going through some problems. It turned out that I don't want to give I don't want to give too much on this one, because this one is still alive.
Sure.
Long story short, she was a runaway. She got into some trouble, and she was in a bad state. So she needed someone to intervene, basically. She was on the street, and it just wasn't a good situation. So her mother found her, was able to get her some help, things like that. But that was really interesting. I could never figure out, how did her spirit come through like that when she wasn't even deceased?
Yeah.
So I never had that before. It's just something that is out there I still have questions about.
I mean, it sounds like you just used your intuition. I mean, I've had that happen so many times with living people, where I'll get a blast of something, and it was for good reason. So that could have just been a mix for you of, your intuition and using your artistic abilities to get that message across. Do you let people keep the artwork, or do you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I always give it to them. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. How is spirit art different from imagination or artistic inspiration? Like, I'm sure there's times when you just want to draw something because you just feel artsy and you feel like drawing something. How do you differentiate? Is it message that you're receiving, whereas the other one just is pure inspiration? You can tell the difference?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. So, I kind of want to talk about, like the historical elements with this too. So when you put like a certain intention into the artwork, it becomes something else. That's all what I always say. And this goes way back to the beginning of time. When you think about, when you see petroglyphs or those old ancient scrawlings on the walls and stuff, what do you always see? You always see like the medicine man of some sort. You always see the animals that you're trying to hunt. That was their survival, was gathering these. You got to think of it on a very basic terms, right? So their basic needs back then was they had to capture these animals. So what did they do? They dressed up like them. They threw all this energy into becoming that animal, almost drawing that energy to them in order to get these things for survival. You see depictions of this all over, like ancient walls everywhere, even in France. You see like the cattle. I think it's the very first art.
Sure.
Those cattle on the cave walls or something.
Petroglyphs, yeah.
So, it's like manifestation. You put into words and you put into art what it is that you're trying to manifest to you. It becomes like a spiritual base. That's the best explanation I have of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me see. Foggy Notions has a lot of questions for you. Let's see this one. Yeah, you have such a fascinating journey from Pittsburgh to Nashville to Las Vegas. What drew you to pursue communication and photojournalism early on? Wow, he comes up with some good questions.
That's something I've always been drawn to. Ever since I was very little, I've always painting, drawing, things like that. I have a long history of photography. I was always the school newspaper photographer back in high school.
Yeah.
In college, I was always I was the photojournalist for the paper. I was always following around the sports teams and things like that, taking pictures. And then I had to spend all night developing that stuff for the school paper. Then I did it for like a small newspaper in town for a little while I was still in school. It's just something that was always there that I did.
Yeah, you've had a very interesting life with the paranormal. What was your first experience? Like, how old were you when you first saw spirit or experienced something in the realm of high strangeness?
Oh gosh, I was like, that's like my earliest memory. I was is of a spirit that was in my room when I was a kid.
Wow.
So there was a man, and he was coming into my room at night and just kind of standing in the doorway and over my crib as if he was, I don't know, he looked like a regular man to me, but he didn't exist. In the spirit realm he did, but not in real life. He wasn't a real person. So he was like this older man with a beard. I referred to him as Santa at the time, because I think it was like Christmas time or something like that when he started coming around. He looked very much like the character in, if you've ever seen that 70s clay movie, Rudolph.
Yeah.
He looked like that character in there. It was like kind of heavy set with the big beard and all of that. Very jolly. It was like a protector figure that was standing over my crib all the time.
Wow. And you remember that from your crib?
Yeah, I remember that. I actually crawled out of the crib at a very young age. I think I was like 3 or 2 or something. Crawled out of the crib to play with this guy. And my mom came in, and there I was, like on the window pretty much. So yeah, she tells me these stories about she found me out of the crib. There's no way I could have gotten out of there, things like this.
Yeah.
The other thing I remember as a kid is that I would see like balls of light, like the size of a basketball, just kind of moving around the room. I would see that a lot. Maybe the most prominent one was, I was a little older. I was like 5. My grandmother had passed away. And the morning before anybody found out, I had this dream, and she was standing at the end of my bedroom, or at the end of my bed. I was sitting there playing with like little toys. And I went downstairs, and my dad's sitting there in the kitchen in a chair, and I said, Nona stopped by. She says she's okay, that she went with Pop. That's all I said to him. And he was like, looked at me like I was crazy. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he got the phone call that she had passed away.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of the things that happened. There was another one that had passed away, and it ended up being another grandmother that I've never even met. There was a woman, again, she showed up at the end of my bed, and she had on this like checkered apron, like those 60s looking, and she had like the horn glasses and all of it and the whole deal. And she looked happy. She was looking at me. I went to give her a toy or something, and it looked up, she was gone. And so I ran downstairs. My mom's in the kitchen, and I asked my mom, where did that lady go? Because I wanted to play with her. And we argued back and forth. There's no lady there. I think I started crying because she didn't believe me. Then later on, she showed me a picture from an old album. Is this her? And it ended up being her grandmother, who had passed away before I was even born. So just little things like that would happen periodically.
Did your family believe you, like when you would try to express these things to them, or did they just do what they do to little kids and say,
I think at first they thought I was just very creative. They didn't believe me, but I think after those 2 incidences where I actually saw and was able to point them out in pictures and things, particularly the case that happened with my dad, with my grandmother passing, I think those were 2 indicators that they started to believe me. I had another grandmother at the time who kind of stepped in, and she kind of, she didn't so much like teach me, but she was like, this isn't anything to be afraid of, that sort of thing. So yeah. I think she kind of knew. And she would say that these are just angels that would come through. They're just spirits. But honestly, like for me, it wasn't like, how you always hear mediums talk about how scared they were and nobody could help them and they were so fearful. That didn't happen for me. These were like protective figures. They were friends. They were people I wanted to play with. It wasn't a scary thing for me.
Scary, yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I guess the negative stuff started happening when you moved in to that house. But before that, you
years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, my younger life though was very magical.
Awesome. So how many spirit artwork pieces have you done to like dozens, or are you very
Probably
particular
dozens.
about doing them? Yeah, dozens.
Yeah, dozens. When I do readings, that's what I do. It's spirit art. I don't do card readings. I don't do tarot card. I don't do regular mediumship readings. I do walkthroughs every now and then for people who ask for them, but yeah, the spirit art is what I do.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have any other examples to show us of like maybe older pieces from people that you either know or worked with? I mean, I think people would like to see some examples of them if you've got them queued up there.
I do. So, to talk a little bit about the history of spirit art, you know, it became very big during the spiritualist movement, and of course, Lilydale. I've gone to Lilydale, and that's become kind of like the hub for the spiritualist movement back in the 1800s. And started out with the Fox sisters, and then they have in their lobby, there's an old hotel there called Maple Hotel. And in the lobby there is a series of artwork that has been created by what they call spirit paintings. And there's several types of spirit paintings. So just to give you an idea, there's like the precipitated paintings, which are hands-free. So basically they would put they call it like slate paintings. They would put the slate up on an easel in like a gallery setting, like you would getting like a regular reading, and the image would just appear. So spirit would come through without any kind of hands or anything, and the spirit art would just show up, like a painting would show up on there. And then you would have mediums that would portray the spirit during like the seances, so they would come forth and they would use their hands or something like this to produce the art. And then you would have these other ones where they were using slates. So there's like different types of spirit art. The one thing to remember though is that there always has to be some kind of evidential base to it. So there was one guy, I just want to talk a little bit about the history, if you don't mind, and then I can bring up the different stuff. I like to teach, so I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
So one of the guys that, there's a whole series in that lobby, and one of the guys whose paintings is in there, his name was David Dugaud, I think I'm pronouncing that right, from 1830s. And he's like the only known artist that I know, the spirit artist that is, that actually got into like a copyright battle over this. So if you have an idea, he supposedly participated some artwork, and it ended up being, and I have it somewhere, hold on a second. I don't know how many of these I'm allowed to do on this back end here. So he puts up his slate and everything, and it ends up drawing out this big spiritual scene. And it turns out to be, oh, I can't show it again. Oh.
Well, why don't you remove the one from your website? And then you've got another one of Audrey something up there queued up.
Yeah, that's a shame. I can't show it. But anyway, this guy ended up not being, he gets into like an entire copyright thing over this piece of art. And it turned out it was like a Bible who decided to try to sue him over a copyright issue. So, but he has other artwork too that was evidential. So we don't know if he was like faking, what was he doing? It's very interesting, but I never heard of a spirit artist being, his name is David Dugaud, I think. It's Duguid.
So he drew something, the Bible, something biblical?
Yeah, it was a spiritual scene of one character kind of like helping another person in the scene. And I don't know what the message was at the time or what it was supposed to be about, but a Bible maker back then came back and said that this was the image that they had in their Bible and tried to copyright this guy. So they tried to sue him for a copyright infringement.
Oh my goodness. Did he win or lose? Like, did you hear the outcome?
No, we don't know. We don't know what happened, but that piece of artwork is in Maplewood or Maplewood Hotel in Lilydale.
Oh, wow.
So as part of like, it's like a historical precipitation thing that they have in their lobby. So they have like a bunch of spirit art and stuff like that. So I just wish I could show that. It's unfortunate that this only takes certain things.
Even when you share the window, it won't let you.
Yeah, none of them is going to show,
Is it a
unfortunately.
website thing, CL?
No, it's a document thing.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't take the document.
Okay.
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, well, that's technology, right?
Yeah, I can't show any of these. That's a shame. So I guess we're not going to do that.
Oh, so none of them you
None
can
of them
share?
were. Mm-mm.
Is it a Word document or?
It looks like it only takes JPEGs, and these are not JPEGs.
Even when you click on share screen, up at the top it says Chrome tab, window, or entire screen. Because when I do that, it does share my entire window or the entire screen, and then I can share stuff that like normally wouldn't.
Well, hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah, give it a try.
Open a few of these up, and then maybe I can do this. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys all of the history of this stuff because it's just fascinating. Yeah, it doesn't even give me that option.
Oh, it's not even when you do share window?
No. Yeah, it doesn't even, hold on, maybe this will work.
Ah, there we got something there.
Yeah, it's not going to let me. Well, that stinks.
Okay. Well, that's all right. You have some other picture up here from Audrey. Is that a piece of artwork?
That is. So that came from with the Bang sisters. They were a couple of sisters from the 18th century. And see, there's two of them. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the other one. You need both of them to show you. This is the after. There's another one that's the previous. And the reason I wanted to show that is because when they moved this piece of art, it showed up differently. So in the original precipitated artwork from Spirit, she had like a necklace on. And when they later sold it, the necklace disappeared off the image.
What?
Or off the painting. Yeah. So that was one of the things I wanted to show you. And there's an actual old photo of the original, and it looks different. Let me see if I can show that one.
Is this girl deceased? And then somebody, okay, so was it an intentional piece of spirit art?
It was, yeah. So the Bang sisters, they were born in 1860s, and their father was a tinsmith. So he was a photographer. He made those little tintypes and things like that. And they lived in Chicago. They were one of the first spirit artists in the US at the time. And they ended up getting arrested and all of this different stuff because they were women, first of all, owning a business, which was a big no-no back then. But they started doing pictures in spirit art. They figured out that they could do this, and some of the images that came through and messages, they started doing gallery work and things. They went to Lilydale, and one of the people that came through was this Audrey figure. And it became significant because, people were trying to say that they were falsifying everything, but the proof came in with the image that came through. It was an old black and white image, or the black and white photo of this image depicts what it actually looked like compared to what it does today, is what I'm trying to say. In the spirit world, they put this image on, like they painted it. It came without hands and things, and then it looked different whenever they moved it. Does that make sense? So like the spirit world took away different images, or what
It's a beautiful piece.
In Audrey, she was a woman who had passed away, and it was somebody's daughter, I believe, in the audience. So this was the original painting, and you see she's got like a necklace on and all of that. But then whenever they moved the image, it looked like that.
And it became color painted?
No. This is an image. This is an image of that painting that you just saw. They're the same. This is just an image of it from back then when it was first done. Does that make sense? So this is from like the 18th century. This is present day.
Gotcha. Wow.
But you see, she has that on, and she's had that necklace. So if you imagine that in color, it's just the differences is the necklace and the brooch, basically.
Wow. That's incredible.
So, and I had a picture of them, the Bang sisters. Here they are. This is at Lilydale.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks like an old photo for sure.
So that would have been the same time as this one here. Same time period.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think any negative entities could come through while you're doing spirit art? Have you ever heard of any stories like that? Or
I haven't heard of any stories like that personally. Again, I work a lot with the Spiritualist Church. They don't really believe in calling forth, demonics and stuff. We very much believe that when we call in spirit, it's either spirits that are equal or greater to. It's never below. So we kind of block all of that out and we believe that you're never out of control as a medium. So possession doesn't happen, things like that. We just don't believe in that. But there are people who, again, if you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of like an Ouija board.
Yeah.
Just opening doors everywhere. And you really don't know to control what spirit comes in or allow permission, whatever, however you control your spirit realm stuff. Of course, they're going to call in demonics and things like that, particularly if I kind of relate it to ghost hunting. Yeah. There's a place here near me, Goldfield Hotel, that I go to quite a bit. And I know there's some TV shows out there about it, things like that, where different mediums and such will get possessed when they go out there. Mm-hmm. They almost always have like negative experiences, blah, blah, blah. That's never happened to me, not once. It's never happened to any of my friends going out there, not once. Does that mean that that negative entity doesn't exist? It very well could be, but we're not calling that forth. That's not who we're there to communicate with. We don't call that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Yeah. Same thing with this. So there's another aspect to it too, with the onslaught of AI. Now there's stories about negative entities being called forth through AI. Have you heard that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've seen some videos that are, and I know I can tell, most people can tell the difference between an AI video and a human created one.
Right.
It's gotten really good AI video, but it's not perfect yet, thankfully. And I saw one where this girl, and then everybody started doing it. She asked, I think it was ChatGPT, to say 50 times Jesus is Lord in a row. And by the time it got to like the 20th repetition of it, these demonic voices were in the background very clearly. You could hear them. And she was recording this with her phone while she had another phone that she was talking to ChatGPT on. So it was a real video, and it was it sketched me out enough where I did that experiment myself with my ChatGPT. And it did repeat it 50 times for me, but towards the end, it like changed the speed and it got weird. But in this one girl's video that I saw, it sketched me out big time, because in the background there were very demonic growls and groans, and then the AI started saying something weird. It was just bizarre, the whole thing. So while the jury's still out on that, if AI could be used by demonic spirits, I mean, I guess anything's possible, right? See how
Right. Everything, it is possible. It's just like the whole CERN thing that I've been reading about too. They're talking about they communicated and brought something forth with that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about that CERN. And it's weird too, because if you look at their ceremonies, it's like they have to tell you what they're up to in order to get a pass on karma. Because as long as they're telling you what they're doing, they believe that there's no karmic retribution, right? So they let you know. Now, if you look at the ceremonies that CERN has, they're all demonic. They're fully demonic from top to bottom. And I don't know, they call it art, they call it, an expression of art and all that stuff. But I mean, if anybody in the chat saw those, you can definitely comment on them. They are truly demonic, the ceremonies. So like, why are they doing it?
It's interesting, isn't it? There's something to be said about creating spirit, like spirit art like that, to bring forth different spirits. Like even the use of sigils.
Yeah.
Like in Buddhism, think about that, where they're using sigils to open gates and things for the loas to come through and to speak with loas. And there's specific sigils to bring forth those spirits. Similarly, you look at like even in modern day religion. So in Judaism, we have the star. In Christianity, you have the cross.
Yep.
Yep. In a way, that even that could be a spirit art. You're drawing out something to bring forth something.
Absolutely. Anything, that was designed with creativity and passion. Did you ever go in a museum too? And when you look at some of the artwork on the walls, you can just get the completely different vibe from them. Ranging in emotion from, wow, that's great, and it gave me a good vibe, to, wow, that creeped me out. I mean, right?
Yes.
I mean, even the Mona Lisa is kind of creepy, if you ask me. It's
right.
That's what I'm talking about. So any artwork, and that's why it's important what you hang in your house too. And be careful what artwork you choose, because you don't know the intention behind that, the artist behind that when they created that. So I mean, I don't know.
I just heard something recently of another friend of mine has a friend down in New Orleans, and they were sent a painting, and on the back of that painting it had a one of those eyes, the seal eyes, and I guess this other person was a magician and was using that eye to see into their house.
Oh,
to see what they were doing, because they were competing tour guides, I believe. Two different companies were competing with each other, and so the other one was using that to spy on what they were doing and to create havoc in the house. So my other friend told them, take that painting and get rid of it. And so they threw it into the Mississippi River.
Oh,
Interesting
good.
story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with, when you go in an antique store and, you have to be careful because that's art too. Furniture is art. It's an expression, right, of art. And you have to be very careful the pieces that you bring back into your house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, basically. Do you buy any old pieces or are you not into that?
I buy all kinds of old pieces. I love
Okay.
it. I have all kinds of antique furniture and I collect old photos. I have them all over the house. I have I call them my adopted family members. But even you do have to be careful with that because I feel like, again, I refer to them as adopted family members. These are images of people who actually lived a long time ago. So in a way, they become part of your story. Like their life is kind of meddling into yours with that, you just bring that forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
We had a question up here. Let me see. Oh, you kind of answered that one. Okay, so Foggy Notion said you host Small Town Tales podcast and the Gateway Radio Show. What one of the most memorable stories that you've covered in there?
there's so many.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh gosh. I don't know off the top of my head. There's just so many on there. Small Town Tales ran for about 4 years. So and I never repeated people on that one. So that one it has a ton of people on there.
Oh. And what was it about? Just about like people's paranormal stories?
Yes, it was. And in the Gateway podcast, that was slightly different in that I took on more of the spiritual aspect of the paranormal. So I started having more mediums and witchcraft people and just different elements to the paranormal would come on that one. I don't really have a favorite story though.
Yeah.
I know that's terrible of me, but yeah, there's just so many. Every time I dig into a new topic, it goes on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't you go traveling around? I see some of your videos like on Facebook where you go traveling around to like mining towns and stuff. So what do you do there? You do research? Do you use equipment or do you just go about walking around?
A little bit of all the above. I just spent the night out in Goldfield and I had some equipment with me. I got a hold of the Horns paranormal equipment. They just released a new piece called the Innova. And I think I have it somewhere. I don't have it somewhere. I never have anything. But anyway, it's a little new spirit box that they came out with. And so I wanted to test it. And I also picked up a SLS camera from them. So I was walking around the hotel with it and things like that. But the cemetery there is a spirit that I connected with very deeply the first time I ever went out there. And this was 5 years ago. I've been going out there for 5 years. And this spirit, I started digging into her research and she showed herself. I was looking for something else all the way across the cemetery, saw her, ran over there, saw, the gravesite, and pretty quickly started digging into the history and found out she's buried under an incorrect name, which I'm working with the Historical Society to correct that. And I just found this whole life tied to her. And now I'm like writing about her story. I'm writing a historical fiction on her.
Oh, wow.
But every time I go there, I connect with a couple of spirits. A couple of them are familiar now. They're like calling me by name and stuff. But I wanted to test this Innova equipment that came out, and I took it to her gravesite. And get this, I had it on. Her gravesite has a complete different name. And I sat down, and then on the SLS camera, you see the figure. There's a figure standing there, sits down right across from me. And so I start running all the equipment, and I flat out asked her, "What is your real name? I know what's on the tombstone's not real. What is your real name?" And plain as day, it said Anna.
Wow.
And that's her real name. I dug up her birth certificate and everything. So I know this piece of equipment works now, but it's just interesting. I was carrying that around, but that's kind of what I do. I dig into
Why
the
would they do
history.
that? Bury her with the wrong name.
She was a prostitute.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, she was a prostitute. Her dad disowned her. She was also a runaway back in the turn of the century. She was supposed to be married. That's why she ran off to begin with. Like, I found all this stuff out about her.
What compelled you to do the research on her?
Her energy came through so strong the first time I've met her, and there was such a connection, and I just wanted to find out more. I was just kind of led.
Wow. Does that happen a lot to you, where you're
Not that often. This is different. This one was a little different. So that's all I can say about that one. It was we just connected in such a way.
nice?
But
And it's
that's
nice.
what I like to do, though. I went to Florida recently, and I travel a lot for work, which opens that door for me to explore paranormal stuff in the area, and that's what I like to do. So I rented a kayak, went down the Crystal River, and I was looking for those Native American mounds. And sure enough, they're there. I just like to explore things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. A lot of exploring. That's good. And then whether you're compelled to write about it or not, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's part of who I am. I like to go out and explore. I probably need to start doing, people always tell me, you need to start a YouTube channel about these places you go to. And I haven't done that yet. I need to start doing that, though. Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really good for you to do. Again, an artistic expression, right?
Right.
So do you think that like music, art, stuff like that can raise spiritual frequency when you're in the moment? Do you think that like while you're putting that intention out there to connect so that you can express it on paper, do you feel that frequency? Is it something you physically can feel while you're doing the artwork?
It is. Yeah, you get into that state. I call it the spirit state, so that you can connect to the other side. But there's an entire meditational program designed around this that was started in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So the Monroe Gateway program, I'm saying it wrong. The Monroe Institute Gateway program is what it's called. It was designed by a guy. He was an I think he was like an airline pilot or something like that, something to do with the airline. But the Monroe Institute, he created this entire 6-step program, and it was like a series of meditational tapes that he came out with. And it was designed to hemisync. It's called hemisync, to sync your right and left brains together so that you can kind of move past what they call, I think it's the right brain, if I'm not mistaken, or left brain. One of the ones that are more like keeps you in the present for like math and things like that. To move past that and delve into more of the spiritual side. And it kind of opens that door. It puts you in a frequency state to be able to connect with the other side more fluently. And through this program, he was teaching it to military. So I think it was called the Stargate program back in the 70s. And they were doing this to kind of see contraband coming up from Cuba. So they were looking for like drugs and cartel stuff like that. And so they were training the military for remote viewing and tapping into the other side to be able to see these ships coming in. Very interesting. but it really works. I've done this program twice. It really does work. So you can learn how to connect with the other side by using hemisync and meditation, and to get into that state of mind, that frequency, to be able to connect to beings that are equal or higher to yourself.
And this program teaches you like step by step how to do that?
It does.
Wow. Cool. So, and you did it 2 times. Wow, I mean, that says a lot, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, it's on, you can find them on YouTube. You're going to have to get the ones without the ads, though, so you'll have to pay for YouTube.
Yeah, because they're expensive, the courses on the Monroe Institute.
They're very expensive, yeah.
Very expensive, yeah.
You don't really need to do that. If you want the manual, I'll send it to you. So just reach out. I'll just send it to you for free. And then go online on YouTube. You'll have to purchase YouTube. You know, just get a subscription for a month or 2 to do it without, because you can't have the ads coming through. Because it'll just disrupt what you're trying to do. So, and then get into that state of listening to the different waves. There's 6 different ones of 6 tapes.
Oh, wow.
So it'll take you about a month or 2 to get through them.
And this puts, is it like a frequency resonance?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It teaches you how to attune yourself, how to open yourself up, how to listen to the other side. You learn how to like color code. You know, a lot of people see auras and things like that.
Yeah.
You learn your spirit language, you know, different imagery, what it can mean when a spirit comes through or when something comes through. It's just so much to it.
I've seen auras since I was like a young girl, 12, 13, and I didn't know what they were. I just thought it was my eyes or something, you know, because back then nobody talked about this stuff. And then as I got older, I knew, like I started learning what it was. And then it's funny, you know, you kind of, when you don't think about it, you lose it. And then when you focus on it again, it comes back. It's the trippiest thing. So like now that I'm in this state of life, if I put my intention out there, I totally could see people's auras, and it's cool. So I like that course though, because I just got this device called the Schumann, and it's a frequency resonator that uses hertz, and you set like the parameter on the back. And I just started using it, and I'm kind of blown away because the first night I used it, I put it on for sleep, and I slept like a baby, and I had the most vivid dreams. Like, and I love to dream. It's one of my favorite things to do. But when I had this puppy on, I was like, it was crazy. So I would love to check that program out, because I fully believe that, you know.
Definitely check it out. I will even send you the manual that goes with it. I still have it. So just let me know. And it'll because he's not real good at, they're kind of dull. I'm not going to lie about it. The tapes are kind of dull when you start to listen to them. And if you don't know the background of what he's trying to teach you, you won't get it. So you definitely need the guidebook to it. I could send it to you. Just reach out and then get on YouTube and start listening to them. And then you'll see it opens the door for so much. You learn how to get into that frequency state much faster. Like if you do readings or anything like that. But you can also use it for yourself. You can use it for spiritual growth. If you need to get answers on something, and you know, you can connect with the spirit world and try to get those answers. Connect with loved ones. There's just so much. Remote viewing, if you want to do that. There's just so much more to it. And there's a whole different topic on this too, that people like, I always forget his name. Led Zeppelin. The guy from Led Zeppelin was channeling in order to create an entire album through this kind of stuff. Yes. Yeah. So a lot of artists back during the 70s was using this kind of stuff in order to generate music. You asked about music earlier.
Stuff too.
Mm-hmm. What about the guy who just passed away, the rocker? I don't know why names escape me so much. Everybody knows him. Long hair guy. He was like the.
Oh, Ozzy Osbourne?
Ozzy Osbourne. He's
Yeah.
another one. He channeled in order to create music, or so he says he did.
I believe it. I fully believe it. You know, and some of them use it for nefarious purposes, and others don't. Hey, Sherry, it's always good to have you, sweetie. Did you? How did spirit art change you, if it did? Did it, or was it just natural for you, and you didn't really feel like any change from it?
I don't think that in particular changed me. I think the whole spiritual stuff changed me, to be fair. I think it kind of gave me a different direction in life. It just changed me in a lot of positive ways.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Like I used to be kind of depressed and stuff like that. I was able to kind of build something else out of that. It just opened the door for exploration. So yeah, it's fair to say it changed me a little bit.
Yeah, I would think it would. Especially when you're helping other people too.
Right.
That's always a good, that's always a good thing. Did spirit art teach you anything about humanity in and of itself? Like just on a whole?
Gosh, I think on any kind of art says a lot about humanity. If you think about it, even like literature, you're putting your heart into it. So, and a piece of you is in that. So I don't know if it teaches me about humanity. I just think that humanity puts himself into artwork. And when you look at it, like the Mona Lisa you mentioned earlier, that artist painted somebody. That's somebody's portrait, pretty much, that everyone's going to look at.
Yeah.
And on like some level, that puts everybody kind of on a collective. Everyone's going there to look at this thing. It's the most expressed painting that everyone refers to. There's just a collective level there. So I don't know. That's such a big question. It could be like an entire class because it shows so many different levels of humanity, from our darkest side to the lightest side. There's just so many levels. It's really hard to answer that question.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. You know, it's funny. My mom had passed a long time ago. And before she passed, she went to Acapulco. She bought these 2 paintings. And I don't know what possessed her to buy them, because they are the most creepy, eerie looking things that I've, well, there's 3 of them. I would say 2 out of the 3. And like, I kept them because they were my mom's. But I'm so tempted to like give them to my brother or sister, because every time I pass them, and that's what I was talking about before. Some artwork just leaves you not feeling good. And that painting seems to like be a spirit piece, because there's a woman in there and she's kind of ghostly looking. And that wasn't like my mom at all, because she never really was into any woo-woo stuff. I just, found that odd that she was compelled to buy that piece. And I always wanted to research it to see if it was spirit art, because maybe it was. And maybe that's why she was compelled to buy it. Because I think that's too. Because when you go in a store to purchase artwork, the piece has to speak to you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there is something to that. When you're right, because what about the crying boy that is currently, the crying boy that's up in art, it's in Zach Bagans' museum.
Yeah,
supposedly that one causes buildings and things to burn down.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I've found prints of that in like different various like not art stores, but antique malls and things like that. I've seen different versions of that same crying boy. So I wonder if it's not so much the artwork, but like you're saying, maybe it's a collective conscious behind that piece of what it symbolizes.
I agree, Hillbilly. He said Acapulco's a weird place. My dad passed there, and a medium said he had a little trouble getting out of there. Oh, my word. You know, I believe these things. Like, I truly do. Good Lord.
I'm trying to find.
Oh, you're trying to find.
Yeah, there's a precipitated painting that's hung at Lilydale of Lincoln that I wanted to show.
I heard you're not even supposed to look at that painting of the crying boy because it could bring, you know, bad vibes. There was a medium that said, don't look at it, don't Google it. And I'm like, well, geez, talk about the power of right? Because I've looked at it. I mean, I think everybody that's heard about it has definitely looked at it, but
I want to show you this one. I'm trying to get it. Hold on a second. This is hung at Lilydale, and it was by the Campbell brothers. They were two individual guys. They were married, which was unheard of back in the day, two guys. So they're not brothers, but they're significant others. And they too did a lot of spirit art.
yeah.
And theirs, they would put it up on a slate and then the thing would be drawn. I'm trying to find, it's not going to work. This system is tough.
Oh, I see you got it up there. I see something.
Let's see if this works. They actually channeled, and it was for Mary Lincoln. Mary Lincoln was very big in spiritualism, particularly when Lincoln died. And so this was supposedly, this was what came through for her. It's not going to work. Oh, there it is. So this was done at Lilydale.
Wow.
And this was
spirit painting?
This is a spirit painting. So it was put up on canvas by these two guys, the Campbell brothers, and that's what came up. And this was done for Mary Todd.
Wow.
That's something that's not really talked about a whole lot. Mary Todd was really big into spirit art and spiritualism in general.
Yes. Well, that's a beautiful painting too.
And that's also hung in that lobby out in Lilydale. I had a whole bunch of these I wanted to show people, and kind of stinks it didn't work.
Thank you, Foggy. Yeah, you know, it's funny because I've always been an admirer of art. I'm creative in other ways, like through I love to make pottery and ceramics and do other things. And I remember one time I was going through a really bad period. I had to have a big surgery that I had to deal with. And I was just compelled out of nowhere to break up like tons of ceramic. And I made this table out of it while I was healing. And when I got done, I sat back and I said, did I make that? Because it almost seemed like, it was weird, CL. It almost seemed like it channeled out of me from all the suffering and cathartic, you know, stuff you go through when you're having a medical problem. So that's why spirit art resonates with me too, because I get it from a different perspective, because I've had that happen to me with other forms of artwork. So I mean, it's definitely a cathartic thing and a spiritual thing. It definitely is.
I think I think any kind of art or anything that you're creating with your hands, and if you think about it, you're almost like you're being God for that instant. You're being, because you're creating out of nothing. You're creating something, particularly with, you said it was clay. Think how symbolic that is.
Yeah, it was clay and ceramic tiles and stuff like that. So yeah, because the medium is different. You know, you can use pencils for, like you do, artwork, painting and stuff. So the medium to me doesn't matter. I think it's like the end result of the thing that matters. But when you're helping other people, I could see how art is the easiest way to do that, because you're expressing your intuitive ability about that person on a piece of paper where they could visually see it, and it helps them heal or whatever the situation. I'm sure with grief too, you've worked with a lot of people with grief, right?
Yes. And that's one of the most important things about art in general too, is the emotional impact that spirit art can have on both sitters, families, anybody that experiences that piece. It's going to mean something to them on some level. It could be incredibly healing, particularly in spirit art, where you have a deceased person come through and all of a sudden, I mean, how else? Think about it. Like the boy that I drew for that one mother. How would I have known that? Right?
Exactly.
That's such a direct message for her that there is something going on after death. There is some kind of survival of human consciousness. What that is, we don't know, but it still gives some form of hope. And I think that's the point with a lot of this. It's given us hope that there's some kind of afterlife, there's survival of human
Absolutely.
consciousness. There's more to this life than just all of this materialism that we're dealing with today. In art itself, it kind of also, on a different level, it provides an escape from what's going on. So you go to a museum, you're not thinking about politically what's going on right now. You're focused on that beautiful piece of art that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Just for a moment, you get to escape whatever it is around you, and you're collectively, consciously on a different level with the artist who created it. It could be the spiritual aspect of what that painting is depicting. Like the Mona Lisa, it could be like a collective of everybody that's connected to that image, maybe everybody who's seen it. Just so many different things
Yeah.
that
Think of
the
the
art world
people
provides.
alive. Yeah. That have looked at artwork, the people that, historically have made an impression on it. It's really mind blowing stuff.
It provides a gateway too.
It does.
The crying boy. It can act like a mirror. Maybe there's something in that painting that is a gateway that something is using to come back and forth, just like that painting my friend had with the all-seeing eye that was being
Yeah.
used to see what was going on in her house.
My goodness. What advice would you give someone beginning to use spirit art to awaken their spirituality so they could help people? What advice would you give a newbie?
If they want to get into spirit art, there are several teachers out there that can really help. Joseph Shield has a great course in getting into it. My suggestion, though, is if you're going to take classes to do it, this is what mediumship too. Go to somebody that's real. Don't go to somebody that's just because they've been on TV. Chances are they're not going to spend a time with you.
Right.
A lot of them aren't even true mediums. It's just for TV. I hate to say that, but it's kind of the truth.
Yeah.
Go to somebody that's known in the spiritualism world, or who's known to, you don't have to go through the spiritualist church, but go through someone that is really good at this, who can provide some kind of evidential backing to this. Like, you don't want somebody that's just showing stick figures or something and saying, oh, this is your aunt, but there's no evidential backing.
Right.
Find someone that can actually do this kind of thing, and somebody that's going to spend the time. Like when I take into classes with Joseph Shield, he actually took the time to mentor me through the
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
you
important.
want.
Yeah.
The other side of that, if you're just looking into being a collector, be careful what you pick up. I don't know. What other advice?
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice right there, I would say. And
Yeah.
again, I think that's good advice across the board, whether you're in an antique shop or, buying antique jewelry or whatever, because we've heard enough stories about what can happen if you buy a piece that's got a possession or some type of entity attached to it. And you
Right.
gotta
It
be
could even
careful.
go with jewelry. I know somebody else who sent jewelry that was actually cursed jewelry
Oh
to mess
yeah,
somebody up out of jealousy.
sure. And then I've heard too of a lot of artists using real blood to paint with, and
Oh,
that's
yes,
that's
yes.
a nightmare too.
Yeah. Isn't there one with Charles Manson that's like that?
I
Am
think
I
so.
mistaken on
Yeah.
that? Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Hillbilly said maybe it would be good to take a K2 meter with you while you're antique shopping. I think that's a great idea.
I've actually done that.
Have you?
Yeah. The problem with that K2 meter though is your phone will set it off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. And then like all the overhead lights and all that kind of stuff will set it off. But
Oh, so
I have
lights
done
will
it.
set it off? Even
Mhm.
lighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
guess I get it.
those fluorescent lightings, those will set it off. I always see these videos where people are taking that stuff and then they're filming with their phone and it's like, yeah, that's your phone.
Right, exactly.
Turn your phone off.
Or they use the app on their phone as a
Yeah.
K2, which doesn't make sense at all.
Mhm.
But, I mean, maybe take a recorder with you and try to get some EVPs. That would be
Yeah,
a
that's a
better,
big one.
right? So because maybe if you walk around the store with your recorder, you can ask questions like, anybody in here? I don't want to take this home. I want to be careful. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that with clothing too. Someone bought a motorcycle jacket from an antique store and a ghost came with it. And this guy got tortured for months before he knew, that it was the jacket. And then, of course, he found out it was the jacket and gave it away, and everything was fine. So you got to be really careful.
I picked up it was a 4-foot witch for Halloween. And this thing, it was manufactured by Martha Stewart and the whole deal. There's no way this thing could have been haunted. That thing was so haunted. It
Oh, no
came
way.
from a estate sale of all things. And I used it for Halloween decorations. I love Halloween. And this witch, I tell you what, the strangest stuff would happen around her. Like stuff would move. I remember I had her in my office one night and I was doing a podcast just like this. And, I had like the green screen and, the camera only focuses on like a foot or two from the screen,
Yes.
right? This thing was all the way across the room and her face kept coming through
Oh,
like
that's
over my shoulder. So I sold her recently.
Oh, did
She's
you?
gone. Yeah, I had to get rid
Did
of
you
her.
tell the person it was haunted?
I did after the fact. It's this guy that loves Halloween. He's already building his Halloween set, and he goes, "Now you tell me," but he's kind of excited about it. So
Oh, that's
we'll
good.
see. But it could be
That's
in objects like that even.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to be careful. You do. So what would you like to say in closing, CL? Any other advice or memorable things about spirit art that you would like to share? It doesn't have to be about spirit art. What are you working on? You have travel plans coming up? Like what's happening?
Oh gosh, there's so much happening right now. It's hard for me to even grasp a lot of it. So I am planning on doing a filming thing coming up.
Oh.
I can't disclose too much about that, but that is on the horizon. And
Is it a documentary or a movie?
it's with a paranormal group. It's with a show that's coming up. I'm a little nervous about it because I don't really like to do TV stuff. So we'll see. I have 2 books coming out. So those will be coming. And one of them is about ghost towns. It's called Grit and Ghosts. And that's about some of the towns in one of the remote places that I've been to around the Las Vegas area, Southwest area.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What's the other book?
That one is on. It's. I don't have a title for it just yet. It's on that girl I was telling you about. Is a historical fiction.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't have
You have
quite
a
the
lot.
title. It's going to be like Tumbleweed on the Line.
Mm.
I'm kind of playing with that title right now, but basically it's about a prostitute who passed away in Goldfield, and it's about her life that I was able to dig up.
Wow.
So, yep.
It's nice that you're giving, you're paying homage to her in that way.
Yeah, it's something I was led to do from the very beginning. It's just taken a long time to do all the historical legwork behind it. There's a lot of historical research to it.
Yeah.
But long story short, she left Texas, boarded a train, and just kind of followed the rail all the way into Goldfield Hotel or
Wow.
Goldfield, Nevada, where she passed away. But it's going to be, it's an interesting story. It's a lot of work. The other thing I have is the Gateway Podcast. It's on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, so folks, make sure you watch that. And thank you so much, CL. This has been a very interesting conversation. The time went so fast, as it always does.
I'm so sorry all the pictures didn't come up. I wanted to give you guys a history about.
Oh, that's all right. We got a few good ones. We got a few good ones. Well, thank you, CL. I really appreciate you being here. We'll definitely have you back.
Me.
Of course, we'll have you back again. Take care, my friend.
Thank
Much
you.
love. Bye-bye. Well, that was awesome. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I love to see the conversations that you guys have. I always go back and read them when we're done to make sure I didn't miss anything. But of course, we want to give a big shout out to United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which you can find at 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And CL, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences, your insights, your perspectives, and the fascinating world of spirit art and all of your travels and everything you're doing. We wish you the best of luck. And we will see you tomorrow. We have an awesome show coming up tomorrow, so don't forget to tune in. And that will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have our guest on. Her name is Stormy Grace. She is an amazing astrologer, and we're going to be talking about the astrology of awareness and decoding consciousness through the stars. So that sounds pretty freaking awesome. Don't forget to tune in, guys. Much love to you all. God bless. See you tomorrow.